We continue our reflection on the daily readings, and I'll try my best to connect this with the memorial feast that we are celebrating, the feast of the first Filipino saint to be proclaimed by the church, Saint Lorenzo Ruiz. So this is the third day of our reflection on the book of Job. So his life was very prosperous, and then suddenly tragedy comes to his life because he loses everything. So his security, material things, and even his children. Children were considered security, and even now. And yet, this he lost. And yet, let's remember, even now, there is that mentality. God will always bless the good. He will curse. He will punish the wicked, those who are disobedient, those who don't follow his ways. So, in the case of Job, he was a just man. He was pleasing to the Lord. And yet, he suffered all these things. And so when he was visited by his friends told him, "You must have done something wrong. God is punishing you." And yet, Job said, "The wisdom of God is larger than the wisdom of man." He created the heavens. He created everything. So he said what's important is we recognize God in our life. So we use the word attachment versus detachment. So people can be attached to material things. People can be attached to people. Their friends, their families, to themselves. And yet what Jesus is asking us in the gospel, and what God is asking us in the first reading from the book of Job, if we are to be attached, do not be attached to anything, to anyone. Be attached to God only. For in Him you will draw all the strength, all the meaning that you are trying to search for, find in your journey in this life. And that's true. When we say attach, it's from Him that we draw everything. Perhaps we remember the parable of the vine and the branches. The vine, a branch has to be attached to a vine if it has to live. Because being attached to the vine, the branch will get life. The branch will get everything, nourishment from the vine. Such is our life. As Jesus reminds us in the gospel, there were some who wanted to follow Him, but they had some conditions. Allow me to wait for the time that my Father is dead. I'm enjoying His company. I'm with Him. And Jesus said, "No, if you want to follow me now." So the same thing with another who said, "I want to follow you, but again, let me say goodbye." And again, Jesus reminds the person who wants to follow Him, there should be no attachment to anyone, to anything. So, how about us? Okay, we are asked to have the same perspective, to be attached to God alone. Yes, we can have attachment, but they should not hinder us in being totally attached to God, so that we can have all the energy, all the strength we need to overcome the crises, the challenges that we have each day. And this is what happened to Saint Lorenzo Ruiz. I'm sure it was not easy for him to grow in his faith in God. And yet because he tried his best every day to attach himself to God in good works, in prayer, in many ways. And that's why when it came to the point when he had to offer everything to God, his life, he said, I will offer to God my life gladly. And even if God will give me 1,000 lives, I will offer them gladly to God. So this is the prayer that we want. We request the Lord that we may have that total attachment to God. In Him we have life In Him we have joy, we have peace and freedom. Amen.